For years, we have been lied to about the Middle East, Israel and Gaza. And today, 5 stories that could reshape the Middle East, and almost no one is connecting the dots. Welcome back, everybody, to The Quad here in our Jerusalem studios with my wonderful co-host, Emily Schrader, human rights activist and journalist, Shoshana Keats-Jaskal, the founder of Chokhmat Nashim, elevating and representing Orthodox women's voices, and Bellamy Bellucci, dancer, activist, and model. Okay, ladies, what is going to finally happen with Iran? Is Trump losing his patience at the negotiating table with these people? Look at this.
Offers the change in Iran? Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. For 47 years, they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives while they talk, and legs blown off, arms blown off, faces blown off. Tremendous power has arrived, and additional power, as you know, another carrier is going out shortly. So we'll see it out. If we could get it settled for once and for all, that'd be good. What do you want it for? What? Would you want to take over? I don't want to talk about that.
So that's a mixed bag, right? So that, Shoshana, he's saying basically the regime needs to be changed. They're cruel. They've been killing their own people. Is there anybody else? I'm not sure. What do you think Trump is losing his patience?
I don't think it's an issue of patience with him.
What is it?
I think it's whatever his strategy is, and I don't pretend to know what his strategy is. I think he's going according to Trump's plan. I don't think he
What's Trump's plan?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know.
We don't know yet.
I'm saying I don't think it's an issue of he really expects them to come to the table. A tiger doesn't change its spots or stripes or whatever that stupid idiom is. And a scorpion is a scorpion and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think he actually thinks it's going to change. I think he's got a plan and he's sticking to his plan. And whether, the only thing that could stop Trump at this point, I think, is if the Iranian regime came down and said, we're just going to step down. We're going to take a retirement and vacation. I think Trump's going to do something. I don't know when or what. Don't look at me. But I don't think it's an issue of patience.
And then the other thing that came out, I think it was today or yesterday, is that basically he said to Netanyahu, who's just been at the White House, of course, he said, well, if you want to take out, after we finish these negotiations, if they don't decide to disarm, which, come on, they're not going to, a scorpion will always be a scorpion, then you guys can go for it. We'll back you up. It's almost like he's pushing us to the front again, which is very Trump, especially with midterms coming up. Do you think that Netanyahu's visit change his mind, or you think this is the same old Trump? What do you think?
I don't think that it changed his mind. I was saying earlier to Emily that it's the similar thing of saying Israel will have to preemptively do something in order for Trump to then go, well, maybe now I might come in, maybe now the U.S. might.
Like the last.
But then making sure that there's everything that would be needed to push against them. But Israel has to do something first because that works in his favor.
Sure.
It's really incredible because I've just got to go back to this wonderful man, Menashe Amir. He literally said to me 3 weeks ago, this is the playbook. And everything he said to me is happening. They're going to negotiate. They're not going to get anywhere. And then they're going to want Israel to go first. And it's almost like it's all playing out. As long as the people of Iran are liberated and we get rid of this, this terrible threat to the world, then I don't care which way it happens, as long as, of course, the fewer casualties as possible. But I kept reading things this weekend in the newspaper that made me a little bit worried. Things like, well, as long as we weaken them enough that then we have the freedom to be able to kind of keep degrading them, then that's good enough for us. But what about the Iranian people?
Yeah.
Well, in all this time that we've been waiting for help in Iran, more people are being executed.
Exactly.
I mean, more people who are protesters. These aren't other paces, okay? These are people who are arrested for protesting. Teenagers. One of them just sentenced to death yesterday.
And they're executing them.
And you're executing them. 100%.
Which is what Trump said. He wasn't. That was his red line, the execution.
And every day that goes by, more of them are dying. And I feel like they've been lost in the conversation of the international community, which is why this protest in Munich, by the way, there was also one in Toronto at the same time, and in LA, 500,000 in Toronto, 370,000 in LA, and there were other smaller protests of tens of thousands all over the world. We're talking about more than 2 million people showing up and protesting on the same day with the same united, clear message, like, come on, world leaders, come on. done.
Because at some point, it's like you can have strategy, but then there's civilian lives.
Yeah.
And the number keeps going up and up and up. So at some point, yes, we understand that there is a strategy, but move it along.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it moving it along the fact that they brought in another aircraft carrier? I mean, literally, so much American firepower and military infrastructure, hardware is now here. Was this the plan all along? Let's put as many guns on the table
Like
as we
risk.
can for the negotiation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we still pray all the time that this is the evil of our generation. That's what the world hasn't realized, or maybe is waking up to now. Hitler was this in the 1930s. The world could have stopped him before what happened. This is our moment, and this is what our generation has to rise to. And we sit here, pray, we urge. I was part of a small demonstration also on Saturday night in Tel Aviv. We're planning another one in Jerusalem. We have always been protesting for the Iranian people, and again, I say this every week, the people of Israel is willing to take the hit for the sake of the liberation of the Iranian people. The 2026 JNS International Policy Summit will take place April 15th to 17th at the Waldorf Astoria in Jerusalem. Register today at jns-summit.org and use the coupon code JNSTV. That is JNSTV in capitals, one word, to receive 20% off all tickets. I look forward to seeing you in Jerusalem. We will all be there. Emily, you were part of a historic event. You were in Munich, Germany, because I assume the defense conference was there. And there was a huge, it's not clear, it was 250,000, 500,000 people.
250,000.
250,000 people showed up. And Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince, addressed. And you and Yosef Haddad were the only two Israelis there also addressing the audience, which we're so proud about, Emily. But the debate has been, and I think it's a debate within the White House as well, do we change the regime when there's no real replacement, when we don't trust the replacement? I mean, shouldn't that Munich rally have been really the answer that everybody's looking for? You have all these people in the diaspora. You have the people within Iran saying Reza Pahlavi, shouting his name, and still people are not convinced that there's a replacement. And my other question is, I thought that Reza Pahlavi did such a great job amongst hostile journalists, especially that hater, Christiana Mampour. He really put her in a place. So just give us a little bit of your take on what happened in Munich where you were at.
Yeah, well, I mean, Munich was amazing, first of all, to be around so many people who support Israel. Just that alone was very impressive to me. It's the first time that I felt safe walking around with an Israeli flag on my back in Europe for as long as I can remember. Because everywhere in the city you see Iranians. And the strange part is that, like, as you're walking, instead of like anticipating people being hostile, potential attacks, people cursing at you, we're walking by, all of these people from the Middle East who are walking by me and with Iranian accents, with Persian accents are saying, Am Yisrael, hi, we love Israel, we love Israel. I mean, I've never seen anything.
There was no pro-Pali, pro-Hamas backlash there?
There were a few individuals, but there's actually footage online now of the police arresting them. Like 3 or 4 people showed up and, 3 or 4 arrests. But the funny part about our protest is that 250 people, 0 arrests, 0 incidents, 1,000, yes, 0 incidents. And you saw people walking around picking up trash after the cleanup, handing out flowers to the policemen who spent their Valentine's Day keeping us safe at this protest. It was really incredible scenes. But what you said about Reza Pahlavi, I think, is really important. And I just want to touch on it because I think a lot of people in the United States and in the Western world don't really understand what he is to the Iranian people. And what they're calling for isn't necessarily for him to be king. They're calling for him to be the transitional leader. And this is something widely accepted by the Iranian community, from left to right. They are uniting behind him. And we see a bias by design, a lot of it from the Islamic Republic itself,
of course,
campaigning against him in the international community, especially from people like Christiane Amanpour and others in the establishment media that have really had a campaign against this man who genuinely wants to see a better future for the people.
Well, also, he's somebody who says it himself. I'm not I'm only the bridge. He
Right.
says it. He's not somebody, and when you look at him, he's not somebody who looks like he's power hungry and wants to be the next dictator. He's somebody who wants to really redeem his people. And I think
this has been consistent for years.
yes, yeah.
He hasn't changed his position.
Yeah.
He's always said this his whole life. And I think that the world needs to listen to him, especially world leaders, and throw their weight behind him for this transition to help guide Iran into a better future.
And who were the people there, Emily? Was it all Iranians in the diaspora? Was it a mix of people? Who was there? I know people flew. You guys flew, but I know also that the British Persians flew in.
Yeah.
Who was there?
A lot of Iranians from all over Europe. There were people who flew in from a few other places. I would say it was 90% or 95% even Iranians, but we also saw a lot of other allies showing up. Not as many from the Jewish community. It's not that big in Munich comparatively, and also it was on Shabbat.
Yes.
But we did see people from, South Korea coming to show support. We saw people coming from Denmark. We saw people coming from all different communities, and also Ukraine. There were quite a few Ukrainians who came to support the Iranians because they understand, like we do here in Israel.
It's just really amazing that the safest you felt in Europe in a while has been in an Iranian protest.
And Munich.
And in Munich. Exactly.
I just wanted to add one more thing that I saw only last night after the protest, and that is that I saw a lot of responses from people inside of Iran. People who were sending voice notes to family members in tears because they were so grateful that the international community, or that the diaspora at least, is standing up, uniting behind one person, uniting behind one demand, and being their voice, which they are physically unable to do right now inside of Iran. And despite that, we saw all night long chants across Tehran and other cities of death to the dictator, and calling for the return of Reza Pahlavi from inside of Iran.
Yes.
So it's very clear what the demand is here.
And the mainstream media doesn't disappoint. I'm being sarcastic. Disappoints every time. They gave a softball interview to the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, and of course, a hard interview to Reza Pahlavi. You can't make this up. One day, I really, really hope that there's a reckoning on how they were part of this suppression of people.
Not just BBC, CNN, all these major networks.
Unbelievable. And he said, I think Reza Pahlavi, when he was in this press conference, he said, well, what can you expect a question like that from the BBC? So good for him, and good for all of those brave people in Iran. And now let's turn our attention to more lies that are being exposed, that were covered up by the mainstream media, because that seems to be the theme here every single week. And that is the fact that this week, Doctors Without Borders, yes, that unbiased organization, has now finally admitted that Hamas are doing terrorist activities in their hospitals. Because we told you, because we had evidence, because they killed a young Israeli woman in that hospital on the October 7th, October 8th.
Who
But
they
now
kidnapped.
They kidnapped and they killed her. I mean, we already knew this because we were told by one captured terrorist back in 24. Look at this.
وحصلوا تعرفوا أتم مخطوف كانت في مستشفى ناصر وقت الحرب.
حسب ما قال لي سالم بيجوز يعني 10 قال لي يمكن تقريبا.
دشك من سالم، إيه اللي فهمته واللي أنت بتعرفه؟
أنا بس أنا اللي بعرفه من سالم عن المخطوفين، لأنه سالم بقى يحرسهم. بقى
سالم صاحبك من حماس، هو مسؤول مجموعتك.
لا
هو صاحبك من حماس كمان بيشتغل حماس. وهو حكى لك إنه في تقريبا 10 مخطوفين في. فهمني كمان مرة كيف حماس بيستعملوا المستشفى، إنه حكيت إنه هم موجودين بالأقسام، صح؟ الأقسام هاي بيستعملوها كمان لنازحين ولناس ثانيين. وقت ما حماس موجودين هنا، وبيناتهم مين؟
هم واخدين الطرف هيك 3 غرف لهم لحماس.
يعني بقلب المستشفى.
But 1 second, it's a bumper week, because Oxfam, bumper week for humanitarian aid organizations that were working with terrorists, because Oxfam has also come out this week admitting disproportionate focus on Gaza. Really?
From the former CEO, no.
From the former CEO, and cries that they were forced or they were pushed into saying genocide before they had any proof. Look at this.
but we have to show consistency with other crises that are taking place in the world. And it always felt as though we were disproportionately working around the crisis in Gaza. But other examples include quite strong pushback when we were not ready yet to use the word genocide, because to use the word genocide, it has to be something that we arrive at with consultation and evidence and good legal advice. And to try and use that term before we're ready as an organization feels quite risky to me.
What did that make you conclude about the organization?
That essentially it was very hard to hold on to neutrality and impartiality. And I say that as a Muslim woman. So that was very hard to navigate.
Well, you know what? Kol hakavod, as we say in Hebrew, well done for a Muslim woman to come out and say, we were pushed into saying genocide before we had any proof, and there was a disproportionate focus on it. Yeah. I mean, I'm exhausted.
I'd love to clutch my pearls and act surprised, but oh please, you must be kidding me. And what is it? Is it fundraising season? Do they? Yes. Is it because of that?
Yes.
That they're worried about their galas. They're worried about their fiduciary responsibilities from their board members who are going to go, oh wait, we're losing a little bit of money. We're losing a little bit of focus on what's been our whole thing for years, over and over again. Genocide, Gaza, from the river to the same chants that have literally been advertised, rolled out there, and have antennas around the whole world. Oh wait. Mm-hmm. So what does Sam...
It was a cash cow for them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm cynical about. Why now? Why now, when they kept the lie so consistently?
I do think that there are a lot of, people who are decent people. Okay. And I think when something is sweeping you by and you see this and you see this and everything, there is a sense of getting swept up in something. There is. And also when you have, it's very hard to be that one person calling out, guys, maybe this isn't, maybe this isn't right. Like maybe we have to think a little bit. It's very hard to be that person.
In the middle of the drama.
Yes, very, very
difficult. Some of them did that and they got absolutely smeared.
Yeah.
Along with, they were called Zionists, they're called traitors, they're called all this crazy stuff, as if Zionism is a bad thing. But they were doxxed, they were threatened. Like anybody who spoke out against this mob, this jihadist mob, whether they realize that's what they're advocating or not.
Also, would she have even gotten an interview a year and a half ago? Like, think about it. Even if she did.
She left, I think.
But I'm saying, would this person who's now saying what she's saying, would they have even put her on the television? I don't think they would have, because we're just talking about the media and what the media is already very, very biased. So it may be a combination of timing. It may be a combination of the tide is a little bit pushed back, and no one would have platformed them before because everyone was on the genocide narrative.
But the truth of the matter is that they literally thought that, especially after October 7th, that they had cut the Achilles heel off of Israel. So the way that they thought that this was going to turn out is not how it turned out for them. So what they've been preaching out to the world saying, they won, Hamas won, Hamas won. Not really, because the truth keeps rolling out and Israel is not as weak as they thought it would come out of this war.
Mm-hmm. You mean the propaganda in the end didn't actually make us,
well, it's amazing. Every single thing that's coming out now, from Oxfam to the hospital story to even the initial reports that we've seen so far, they're not complete, of course, but about casualty counts, about how many Hamas terrorists were killed in this conflict, from the other side claiming how many were killed in multiple reports. They're just proving us right. And as time goes by, they're going to prove us right even more, step by step. Oh, they were operating in hospitals. Oh, they were using UNRWA. Oh, they were using schools. They were storing missiles in mosques and in daycare centers for children.
Oh, the doctors were part of Hamas. Yep. Oh, the journalists were part of Hamas. They're not, dead journalists. No, they're dead terrorists who pretended to be journalists because they wore a little press vest, and that's all they were. Yes, and on that spirit and with this momentum, Francesca Albanese, everybody is taking a step back from this snake. This is why I wore this jacket today, to represent what a snake this woman is. But basically, is everybody abandoning the Francesca Albanese ship right now?
That's certainly how it seems. We see many EU leaders calling for her to be removed from the UN. Why hasn't she been already?
Exactly. She should have been when it was discovered by UN Watch that she was allegedly taking, money from certain Muslim Brotherhood groups a few years ago. Do you remember that one?
Of course.
That's when she should have been kicked out.
She also just had this interview where she spoke about how what Hamas did on October 7th, they did indeed kill civilians. At least she admitted that. But it was because they were occupiers.
They were occupiers, yes.
But the motives were not anti-Semitic. because the attack was against Israel, and Israelis, unfortunately, Israeli civilians, unfortunately, regrettably, but because they are occupiers.
So it's somehow justified. Yes. And as an international lawyer, even though she's not actually a lawyer, she should know. Yes. And I don't, unlike other people, I don't believe that Francesca doesn't know this, but you are never permitted under international law to use violence against civilians, including occupiers, okay? Yes. It's not permissible. Yes. Never mind the fact that the Gaza border communities are in sovereign Israel. This is not disputed. They are not settlements. So to even insinuate that that's somehow legitimate or justifiable is outrageous. And she knows
and the Bibas babies, and the Bibas babies are occupiers, and the women deserve to be raped. Shame on this disgusting woman. Honestly, we don't want to give her more attention. She's been the scumbag of the week a million times. But are people now waking up?
I really do hope that they are waking up. What I've been doing is watching videos of her speaking about rape. And the rape that happened from October 7th, what happened to the women. And at the beginning it was like, no, there's no such thing. And you watch her interview after interview swivel around, never actually saying yes or no. We know exactly what she's been saying since the beginning, but now all of a sudden she actually has to be held accountable because more and more information that comes out. And when the hostages actually speak about what happened to them, you cannot deny it. It wasn't written. It wasn't scripted, unlike their jihadi casting couches that you all deal with, and now you're being able to wake up to it. They refuse to listen to everything that's been said before from our side saying, this is a red light. This is a red light. And the fact that she's even still within the United Nations is wild.
Well, they just invited somebody from the Islamic Republic to address the Human Rights Council.
First of all, yes, and they congratulated the Islamic Republic on their 47th anniversary.
My warmest greetings.
My warmest greetings. And at the end of the day, doesn't Francesca Albanese just represent the rotten core that is the UN?
Yeah.
Is she any different? She is the representation, even though now everybody's trying to distance themselves because she's gone too far by calling Israel the biggest enemy of humanity. Ooh, that sounds Hitler-esque. But yes, exactly. She personifies. Didn't they just put on Iran and North Korea into kind of the Council of Welfare and something else? Social and welfare. They just were nominated. The 7 biggest, violators of human rights have just been nominated into the Social and Welfare Commission of the UN. So really, she's just them, isn't she?
She would never make it into the Board of Peace, though, I'll tell you that.
Oh, maybe
That's
not.
the difference.
She doesn't have enough money to join it.
Yes.
It's under sanction. Did she hear?
Oh, yes, she can't pay for her hotel room. Boo-hoo. Anyway.
I do want to say, though, I think there is a contributing factor to all of this sort of twisting away from the demonization of Israel. And that's because we've been saying for more than 2 years that it's not just about Israel.
Right.
It's a much broader issue. It's about the Islamic Republic and what they're doing with their proxies, not here, but in the entire region and world, including Venezuela. Since that happened with Venezuela, and since the very unfortunate and tragic events inside of Iran, we have seen people, especially Europe, sort of shift away and realize, oh, maybe the Jews were right.
Maybe they
are using hospitals because we saw the same things in Iran. Maybe they are using unmarked ambulances for terrorists because we saw the same thing in Iran. It's the exact same place.
Maybe the jihadi ideology that is raping 100,000 women in Britain, maybe they have a point.
And those people that are actually speaking out are now being called Zionists. Welcome.
Zios.
Almost the whole world is Zionist. That's the right word going.
They're all Zionists, including that moron from the Religious Freedoms Committee that Shabbos Kestenbaum was just on. Oh, she's such an idiot. Sorry, Shoshana.
No, I was thinking, as you're talking, I'm thinking, I wonder if this is Dafka part of Trump's strategy to be like, the more evidence we collect against them, unfortunately, it means that people are dying. But the more evidence and the longer the world sees that they are killing, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I wonder if, he's kind of building a case and then coming in.
I definitely think that he is building a case for the legitimacy of their attack.
Right. Because if you're talking about regime change, which he had not been talking about before, that's already, we've just moved that goalpost.
So we've seen Europe shift. I mean, Europe, for as long as I've been in this, has been behind everyone else, much behind the United States. And suddenly, you see European leaders, you see members of parliament, you see even some of the heads of state talking about regime change.
And sanctioning, finally, sanctioning the IRGC. Again, Boker Tov.
Nothing.
Good morning. Welcome.
Interesting.
Okay, well, on that recap of all that is evil in the world, let's move on to our favorite segment, Scumbag of the Week. Okay, this week I really struggled actually to pick one. I know I say this every week.
There are so
It was a
many.
particular struggle this week. Shoshana, who's your scumbag this week?
So I'm going to shift a little bit to domestic politics.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. Because my day job is to deal with extremism in my own community, because I have seen the effects of extremism in my own community, talking about religious extremism. And we always talk about, where are the moderates? Why aren't they speaking out? Where are the moderates to call out the Muslim extremists or the Muslim extremists, let's just be honest. Why aren't there enough calling them out? Because if there was enough calling them out, then we could really push against them. And so I am not saying that the Jews in Bnei Brak are terrorists. However, yesterday, 2 IDF young women soldiers were chased down the streets of a city in Israel because the community felt they should not be there, they did not belong there, and they represented the IDF. We have allowed in this country a small minority to grow in religious extremism. And it's not just religious extremism, it's really political extremism. It's really their own rules, their own education system. And when you don't know what kids are being taught, you don't realize what young people you are raising.
Yeah.
And I, as someone who lived in Beit Shemesh for 18 years, as someone who saw what religious extremism does, because it always starts with the most vulnerable. And it always starts with the women and children, and the women are put in the back of the bus, and the women are told, you don't run for office. And I'm not saying that they are the Taliban, but I can't say that they're so far when women are allowed to hold office and women are told that they should be in a certain place. And so we cannot act surprised when we allow a separate education system, when we allow rules they don't serve in the IDF. And while there are political reasons for this, it is never, in any way, shape, or form acceptable to chase women down the street. And if this had happened in an Arab community, the response would have been very, very different. And I'm calling out my own government, I'm calling out my own people, and I am saying it is unacceptable. We don't make excuses for violence. We don't make excuses for extremism. We don't make excuses for terrifying people out of a community and screaming like a mob.
Yeah.
It's not okay. And I'm going on record by saying we need to fix our internal problems, or that's what's going to be what takes us down.
Amen, sister. Absolutely. Listen, we're here to call out extremism. We're here to call out bad behavior.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what I think is different this time, that even the rabbis that have been keeping their mouths shut about this were shocked by what happened yesterday.
Which is hypocritical, and it shouldn't be. Absolutely not.
They were shocked. They were like, oh, you shouldn't be chasing female soldiers, who, by the way, showed up in skirts.
Yeah.
So they can't even say, oh, you disrespected our rules. Those girls showed up in modest attire. Yes, but they can't use that.
This is not our country. This is not the religion. But
True. This is not our religion, and this is an extreme group. But I think, what I was hearing on the radio this morning, is this small extreme group has become bigger.
Of course it has. You've got 8 or 9 kids in the family.
And
What
as
are
a
you thinking?
result, the rabbis have kept their mouths shut and haven't called it out. And now when this shocking scene happens, now all those hypocrites that you're saying.
Yes. Now, where did this come from? I have no idea. That's not true. You are part of the problem. Yeah. And I just want to say, as someone who's literally watched this happen, and you can go and look me up. I have been blogging about this and writing about this for like 15 years. You cannot excuse it and say it's just a few people.
Yeah.
Because you let it fester.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it comes barreling through your door and you're like, whoa, what happened? No, because you just left it there. It's like a mold that grows.
Yeah.
You cannot ignore it. No matter who you are or where you are, you have to stop extremism wherever you are.
Let's see if this is going to be a turning point.
I really hope so.
Well, there's certainly those people who were running after these 2 girls.
Disgusting.
And
scumbag, disgusting scumbags.
It's also important to say, first off, that it's not all the ultra-Orthodox.
No.
Outside of Israel maybe don't understand that.
Yeah,
it's not all of them. There are many ultra-Orthodox who even serve in the army, who are loyal and you know, contributors to the state of Israel.
Yes.
Most of them, I would say.
Yes.
But yeah, this sect is growing, and that's very, very concerning.
Yes.
It's a scary thing, and the rule of law needs to be enforced.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you can't have a state within a state.
Correct.
You can't have this ex-territory thing. You don't go in there. The police doesn't go in there. We don't want to deal with it, whether it comes to the extreme ultra-Orthodox or the Arab community as well, where you've got gangland shootings going on.
We have to be able to say, whoever we are, whether we're left, right, center, whatever, we have to be able to say,
this is bad.
That's not acceptable.
I agree.
Accountability.
Yes.
Accountability.
By the way, they didn't just chase those 2 soldiers down the street. They also destroyed public property.
Yeah,
They overturned a police vehicle. Like this
I'm
is
sure we have
rioting behavior. This is illegal activity.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing in Judaism that allows
more than that.
this kind of behavior.
Destroying property is against the Torah.
Yeah.
Everything they did was against the Torah. None of this is justifiable.
Exactly.
Let's just be
Nothing
clear.
I think you're right, Shoshana, when you say it's political. It's not religious.
No,
extremism. It's
100%.
political
Right.
ideology.
Right.
Because again, our religion is not about this. Well, fantastic scumbags. Thank you very
Hard
much.
to do sometimes. Hard to take your own people and
No,
follow to task.
this is why we're here.
Yeah.
This is what we set out to do, to call out evil wherever we see it. Emily, who's your scumbag this week?
Well, speaking of extremists,
Yes.
my scumbags this week, I have 2.
Oh.
But they go together. Kala Walsh from the United States and Bushra Sheikh, who actually previously has been my scumbag too.
Okay.
They are 2 influencers, I guess, for lack of a better term, certainly not journalists, who are currently in Iran, inside of Iran, on what appears to be a trip sponsored by the Islamic Republic. We don't have documentation that it's them who are paying for it, but this is certainly something that should be investigated. So both these women were flown into the country basically to shill for the Islamic Republic in the aftermath of a massacre of tens of thousands of people. We see Bushra Sheikh, who is a known Islamist in the UK. She's someone who openly advocates for Sharia law. The irony of this, of course, is that she doesn't wear a hijab because she lives in a free Western country. But she goes around on social media and on, TV appearances, etc., talking about how great Sharia law is and how it's such an important thing, and that's what she wants to happen. Of course, she also praised the people who were tearing down hostage posters after October 7th as heroes. She has supported Hamas in her commentary. So this is a very, very extremist person. In a way, it's no surprise to see her in Iran. In 2024, in November, she also stated that she was invited by the regime to go to Iran. Again, we don't know if this trip is, but we do know that it's extremely problematic. And then, of course, we also see on this same delegation, Kala Walsh, who is a former progressive Democratic Party organizer. She's also the founder of Palestine Action US. That's the US version of the group that was labeled a terror organization in the UK, at least for some period of time.
Yeah.
And she previously also visited Iran and chanted "Death to America" and "Death to Israel" from a stage before the Islamic regime. So she is back there doing her business, praising the regime and their weapons and presenting a false reality that, the Iranian people are somehow behind the regime, which if it wasn't so tragic, it would be comical because it's just absolutely delusional. I mean, it's very, very clear propaganda. There was even a video of Bushra Sheikh walking through Tehran saying, "Look, I'm not wearing a hijab." Meanwhile, there's Iranian women being raped, being whipped, being sentenced to death inside of prisons in Iran for not wearing hijab. And incidentally, after that, the rest of the videos, we've seen her wearing a hijab.
Yeah.
I guess it's not so free after.
Curious.
Yes. Well, they are two, these women, they're a special place in hell.
Yes.
For women who basically prop up people who kill women.
Yeah.
And these two are a perfect example. They're literally cosplaying fun jihadism.
Yep.
Because they can go home and take it off.
Yep.
Jihad
I
party.
wish that if you are an American citizen and you say "Death to America,"
You're out.
you are a problem that needs never land back in the country where you were born.
How do they let them back in?
I don't know.
They are now siding with the enemy.
There's been a lot of discussion just this past week as a result of this, of investigations for sanctions violations, both UK and US.
Exactly.
Because if those trips were paid for by the Islamic Republic, hello,
Absolutely.
that is receiving money from the Islamic Republic in exchange for services, propaganda, and nation branding. And that is arguably a violation of US sanctions. So this for sure needs to be investigated.
I keep saying, I wish the days when ISIS brides quietly went on AOL and disappeared and then figured out what was going on and wanted to come right back in.
Yeah, one of them, I think one of them is trying to get back into the UK. Because
They let some of them.
They let some of them back in. Oh my God. It's incredible.
craziness.
You can't underestimate stupid, I swear.
It's
But
true.
anyway, these people, what can I tell you? All right. Bellamy, who's your scumbag this week?
My scumbag for this week is New Yorker's favorite bartender, AOC. This is what she had to say.
Personally, I think that the United States has an obligation to uphold its own laws, particularly the Leahy laws. And I think that personally that the idea of completely unconditional aid, no matter what one does not make sense. I think it enabled a genocide in Gaza. And I think that we have thousands of women and children dead that was completely avoidable. And so I believe that enforcement of our own laws through the Leahy laws, which requires conditioning aid in any circumstance when you see gross human rights violations, is appropriate.
I think she went to the Kamala Harris School. I was about to say. No, there's a clip that is way worse.
About Taiwan.
They ask her a question about Taiwan.
Back in the day, I think it was like Miss Teen USA or something, and she got asked a question. She said, I personally believe that the US of A does not know about the Americas and that's literally what she sounds like.
And Iraq.
It's the word salad and that word vomit of the same thing when Kamala Harris was asked questions that she couldn't directly answer because she was ill prepared and did not have enough knowledge. If you don't know what you're speaking about, do not speak on it.
Yeah.
Or if anything else, go back to your basement, sit with a staff member and let them help you to actually do something. These are people that are out there saying the Leahy laws. 2 seconds later, the hill she's going to die on is with the squad. That is the hill that you've chosen. So of course you're having to stick to it, but somebody didn't give you the talking points about what's actually going to happen. This was a question that came from an Israeli journalist, if I'm being correct. This came from but even worse, how do you answer because of everything else that you have said against Israel? How do you answer in a moment like that? Because why are you even there?
Why is she even there when she does know nothing about international affairs? She knows nothing about geopolitics. She even has admitted that she doesn't know much about it. And you're there like Kamala Harris acting dumb. And then you think to yourself, people voted for this stupid woman.
I mean, they voted for Mamdani.
True. But Mamdani, I'll give him, he's got rhetorical ability. He does.
Yeah, he says what the people want to hear. He says what people want to hear, and he was running against Cuomo. Yeah.
But I'm with you, but at least he answers a question.
Yeah.
Even if he deflects and this woman, I mean,
well, his mother came from Hollywood. There's a video of him code switching between languages and accents in South Africa and saying that they trained their actors and actresses very well to know how to do that. Hi, Takia, you're welcome.
Yes. Oh, well, that is an excellent, she's always been a fantastic scumbag, but thank you for bringing her back to us, Bellamy. That was a wonderful contribution. Now, my scumbag this week is Spike Lee. Because last night, Deni Avdija, who is an Israeli basketball player, who has now been named for the first time in Israel's history, top 5 NBA All-Star, right? Last night. Huge achievement for Israel, huge achievement for him and his dedication to the sport and what he's managed to achieve. But of course, you always have the people who come to throw a bucket of cold water on any celebration. And this one yesterday was Spike Lee, who showed up looking like he was wearing a Palestine Purim costume. You can see him right here in his garb to an NBA game that has nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with anything. And of course, because an Israeli player has now been selected as a top NBA All-Star, he had to show up to ruin the party, looking like a Free Palestine clown. Here he is. And for that reason, I mean, he's always been very anti-Israel. He represents a very terrible trend in the kind of Black empowerment community to be anti-Jewish, even though we have a wonderful history of Jews and the Black community in America standing together, fighting racism and fighting anti-Semitism. But he's one of those. And unfortunately, he showed up in full garb last night to put a damper on the celebration, but he didn't manage because the whole country is celebrating today the wonderful achievement of Denny. And so we're proud of you, Denny, and Spike Lee, you're a clown and a scumbag.
Isn't it worse that isn't he part owner of the Knicks?
Yeah, he's part owner of one of the teams.
Which is even worse. At that point in time, that tells the story of exactly who you are. And I think as somebody that's part owner, if you're a CEO, if you're the fish rots from the head. So how is it? Are doors open for Jews and the Knicks?
Well,
is anybody that agrees with Israel having sovereignty and Israel being a sovereign state and being able to exist allowed to attend your gift? For me, it's weird. But obviously, everybody that already hates Israel is part of the clown team that he represents. I think that's the most disgusting thing when that's your brand.
I just think it's pathetic that obviously he got this clothing made for him. Did you see?
That was another one.
What he was wearing?
Pathetic, that's gonna show him. You're a loser who's sitting in the audience and he's an NBA All-Star. So
that's freeing Palestine with your little vest, with your little ribbons.
But he wasn't the only one. There was another one as a black pro player. I don't know if he's still playing, who sat there courtside. He's playing, you're not, wearing a T-shirt that said press. So to virtue signal for all the Gazan journalists that have the journalists.
That's another one that came out about the statistics about journalists. The more time that goes by, we see more of these journalists are, of course, not in fact journalists, like Israel said.
Yes, exactly. That's been the theme of the week. Uncovering all the lies that we've been telling you for 2.5 years. Okay, so now as we move on to our cleansing of our souls with the heroes of the week. There's always many, many heroes, and we always love to highlight them. Bellamy, let's start with you. Who's your hero this week?
My hero this week is Jerry Seinfeld and his son, who were leaving in New York after attending, I don't know if it was a performance or something, and they've got the baiters outside. Take a look.
Can you sign one, please? You, Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine! You support the genocide of babies in Gaza! Free
Only
Palestine!
you!
Free Palestine! You, Jerry Seinfeld! You support the genocide of Palestinian children! You rabid dog! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
So that made me happy, even if it might be an older clip, but I discovered it this week, and that really just put a smile on my face. Specifically because at some point, there's so many people that are in doing hasbara and constantly explaining, constantly defending. Sometimes it's okay to just pull out middle finger.
Yeah.
And it's really okay. Yes. If that's what you want to believe. Okay.
Because you're not going to argue with these people.
Yeah.
You're not going to argue with these people anymore. I can't take it anymore. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's like all these, as a Jews, I don't argue with them anymore. I just write, you're not a Jew. That's what I do. And that gets them really riled up. I just say, you're out. We've kicked you out. It's over.
Who has the time to do this stuff? Who has the time to do this stuff? I can't even get out
loses.
Honestly,
people like Zoe Mandani were born with the silver spoon in their mouth. Yeah. Don't have to have real jobs until they're, 40 years old.
You don't have to
run for office.
Do anything.
Rappers.
Yeah.
It's stand on the street and scream.
It's wacky to believe that people go out, record these things, and bait people so that they could have a 1-minute clip to get a paycheck at the end of the month from TikTok.
Well, they just did that in the UK now with Matt Lucas, who's a very popular comedian. He happens to be Jewish. He hasn't come out or pro anything. He doesn't want to get involved. He's simply a comedian. He was chased down the London Underground, harassed. All of a sudden, regular British people are coming out in shock. Why are they harassing Matt Lucas to say Free Palestine? Same story. He was like, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And all of a sudden, people in the UK are going, oh my God, it's really here. Really? Oh.
Okay.
Anyway, good for Jerry Seinfeld and good for Matt Lucas, who wasn't dragged into it. Emily, who's your hero this week?
So my hero this week is Senator Lindsey Graham, who spoke at the Munich conference, also the Munich Security Conference, and also the Munich protest with the 250,000 Iranians. And boy, what a reception he received. Iranians have started calling him Uncle Lindsey Graham because it's cute, but it actually comes from a funnier thing because after Soleimani was assassinated, we saw, I don't remember who it was, one of the regime officials came out saying that it's okay because our uncle, Hassan Nasrallah, the former head
he's still alive.
Hezbollah, he's going to take revenge for us. So now they call Bibi, the Prime Minister of Israel, they call Bibi Uncle Bibi, and they've started calling Lindsey Graham Uncle Lindsey. So there was a huge reception for him. I mean, he has been absolutely fabulous on this issue. Complete moral consistency, which is something that we very rarely see from the political class across the world. And, you know, he's kind of an unexpected hero. I mean, here's a guy with a thick Southern accent from, you know, South Carolina. And he's like a hero of these Iranian people for standing up and for saying that, you know, we are going to act. We are going to do something. And he told that crowd of 250,000 people that the end is near and that the American people and the American government stand with you. And, you know, my only criticism on this issue is, like, make it happen already. But Lindsey Graham, you're the best. We love you. We're eternally grateful for everything that you've done for Iranians, also for the state of Israel.
Absolutely.
You've been a true friend. And I cannot thank you enough.
Good hero.
Support is beyond words.
He's wonderful, and he has been also with us this whole war.
Consistent.
He's been so consistent, so morally clear. Look, these are the people who are on the right side of history. There's nothing to say.
Yeah,
These are the people who get it.
People. Yeah.
The right side of history. Oh, I love that they call him Uncle Lindsey.
Yeah.
Cute.
So cute.
Shoshana, who's your hero this week?
Well, we haven't actually had hostage heroes in a while. And this week, Arbel Yehud came out. Actually, she and also her partner, Ariel Cunio, came out with an interview. But it was very difficult to, I think, I could be wrong, but I think she's the first hostage to acknowledge that she tried to take her own life multiple times.
Yeah.
She was held alone by Islamic Jihad. And she basically described that seeing Romi's testimony made her also want to come out and describe what happened to her, because Romi just explained that she had been sexually assaulted multiple times. And Yehud came out to say that she, unfortunately, almost every single day of her captivity was sexually assaulted. And she did not go into detail, nor would I share if she did, but it's really, we celebrate that they're home, and we forget how much work they need to do, how damaged, how pained, how harmed, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, that they are. And that's even from what we can imagine, and the things that we can't imagine, it's so much worse. It's very brave of her to come out and say what she said, and I think that the world needs to know. The world needs to hear the testimony. The world needs to read it, watch it, see her eyes, and to understand what happened on October 7th and for the past 2.5 years can never happen again. And Israel can never let it happen again. And the world cannot forget. And when we act, and we will continue to act in our best interest to prevent that from happening again, this is why.
Well, you know, the thing that's so frustrating about that is that it is happening. It's not happening to us right now, but it's happening right now in Iran. And like, this is what happens. This is why we were like screaming from the rooftops about this issue. Sexual violence as a method of war. Like, this is something that no one should accept. It shouldn't even be on the table. And it's been happening there for 47, 48 years. And it's happening right now as we speak.
And it's happening in Africa.
That's correct.
It happens in Sudan. It happens everywhere. Women used as a weapon of war. And these stories are important to tell. Yesterday I was in a mental health conference. I'm on a board of ICAR, which is a mental health and post-trauma advisory, a nonprofit. And actually I led a panel called Women at War. And this came up, and there was actually a very interesting debate that, is it doing us more harm than good to hear these testimonies?
No, it needs to be heard. The world needs.
That was a debate.
Happening.
Interesting.
It was a debate. Is it re-traumatizing us by hearing it? But I think that maybe it is, but it needs to be heard.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
This week on X, I think I saw it. There was a woman, an African woman, who using a pillow, I don't know if you saw this, but using a pillow and a diagram and a needle and thread, explained what was done to her for female genital mutilation, which is a nice way of saying they destroyed her vagina. She showed she said, this is what happens to me. This is what happens to other women. This is, sometimes they do this, sometimes they do this. And I think 4 or 5 minutes of describing the different ways that women are mutilated every single day. every single day in various communities. And I believe it's legal in Britain.
What? The
FGM.
Really?
Yep. As a part of culture.
Well,
and we don't talk about it. And so my response to you is, I understand what you mean about, are we being re-traumatized? Or whomever said, maybe we shouldn't be traumatized. But the more we expose and talk about rape and sexual assault, as we can do more to eradicate it.
Yes. I agree. I agree that in that balance, that's what has to prevail.
Because when somebody sexually violates you, rapes you, there's something that also happens where people always ask, will they believe me? Mm-hmm. And little by little, when people keep downplaying it or whatever, you push it down. Mm. So to hear a story from somebody else, it doesn't for me, it doesn't re-traumatize me. It does the exact opposite because it comes back up to the surface and it's something that you have to deal with.
Exactly. It's just putting it in the face.
It's putting in the face, but it also doesn't quiet it down.
Yes, and I also think that these women need to tell that story for their own healing. They need to put it out there almost for their own healing, and that's probably why they decided a year later to talk about it. They've gone through their own process of healing.
Right.
But anyway, she's a hero, especially because she's the one whose face we saw in that traumatizing clip when she came out of there surrounded by these animals, and how
she said she thought she was going to be killed again. Just getting through that.
Of course.
Yeah.
But we saw the images. We saw them live. I will never forget. I will never forget those images. And you know what I will never forget? The people who are standing with those animals and not with her. That's what I will never forget. Anyway, okay. I want to move on to something very, very positive.
Perfect.
And we like highlighting women who have broken the glass ceiling. Mm-hmm. And this woman has broken the glass stratosphere because Dr. Shimrit Maman has been named as the first woman head of Israel's space agency. Yeah. So, like I said, not just breaking the glass ceiling, breaking the glass atmosphere. She is a trailblazer in a field. Dr. Maman heads Israel's space exploration, advanced research, and international collaboration. She's the first woman to be appointed by this role and and she will be advising also the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology. And I think that, yes, this is the new horizon. What do they say in Star Trek? The next frontier.
Yeah.
And the fact that an Israeli woman is heading the next frontier of science development, of innovation, to us here in the Quad and all over the country is a badge of honor and a badge of pride. So my hero this week is Dr. Shimrit Maman. Well done. We're all behind you.
I grew up and I wanted to be. I wanted to be an astronaut. I went to space camp. I went to space camp.
Maybe we can make it happen.
Oh my God! Please take me.
At least in space.
Take me.
At least quad in space.
At least the Katy Perry version. So it's just,
oh, come on. That will be amazing.
We can all pick a very nice, flattering onesie and go off to space. Well, Shoshana, something about you I did not know.
Yeah.
It's lovely discovering new things about my friends every day. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for watching. And again, we pray, as we do every week, for the healing of the injured and for, hopefully, the bringing down of this toxic, repressive, murderous regime, the Islamic Republic, and to free the Iranian people. Thank you and see you next week.